Hello everyone. Welcome to Meshery Build and Release call. This call happens bi-weekly, so every other week. And so we'll just kick off with the action items. Seems like we have a bunch today. And before we do that, we have a this ritual of introducing yourself if you are a newcomer. So I guess we have a bunch of newcomers in today's call. So if you're a newcomer, please, it would be nice to introduce yourself. So I guess Prima, you are new to the call.
Hi everybody. Hope I'm audible.
Yeah, you're audible.
Yeah. I'm Prima. I'm interning with ARM this summer. So I'm new to cloud native technologies. Currently, I'm working on a project of benchmarking Istio and Marbridge on ARM platform. So it happens that my team and I had a discussion and we chose Meshery as a tool for benchmarking. And I was bringing the, I was using the Meshery on ARM platform and noticed that the pods are not coming up because the image is not compatible. I raised the issue.
Yeah, yeah,
That's the introduction.
yeah. Thank you. That was a nice introduction. And your item is the first item. So after we're done with introductions, we'll get to that. And I think Nishant, you are new to the call. This is your first CI call, I guess.
Yeah. I am Nishant, and I've recently started contributing to Meshery. So this is my first thing I'm working on. That is uh, migrating Meshery CTL from our custom tab to Homebrew core. Yeah, and that's what I'm going to discuss.
Okay. Manik, have you introduced yourself? Is this your first time? Okay, I guess you can introduce yourself on the chat if you like. Anyways, let's get started with the first item, which is this. I think this issue is open in Meshery. So I'll open it for you, Prima. I think that's how I have to pronounce your name, right? It's Prima, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, thank you. Just so I think Lee created the issue. Where was it? I think it was in Istio adapter. Yeah, this is the Meshery repository. So just to give it a little bit of context, so recently we created workflows to build binaries for both ARM and AMD64. But the thing is that the workflow isn't quite correct here because okay, so the logic is around, I guess, here. So yeah, here we are doing the build and push, and we specify the platforms as Linux AMD 64 and Linux ARM 64. But the thing is that we inside of the Docker file itself, if we go back to the Docker file, we have hard coded that it should be only it should be AM. As you can see here, we have hard coded the Go arc as AMD 64. So when it gets compiled into a binary, it's a we are only creating a basically AMD 64 binary, and here also then we're setting environmental variables to be AMD 64. So the issue would be that, and I think this not only I think I am certain that this thing is inside of all the adapters. So even though we migrate to a multi-platform workflow, that wouldn't quite work because of this hard coding going on in the Docker file. So the issue would be to basically have this basically to have this thing as a variable, this go arc, and there is a I guess there is a flag. You can have it hard coded here as well and then override it if you externalize this as an argument somewhere around here, I guess. So there's a flag, I guess. If someone can remind me, I can be wrong. It's build as a hyphen build something, or build args or build variable, something like that, with which while you are actually building that image, you can override those variables. So inside of that multi-platform, basically the workflow where we actually compile it for both ARM and AMD64, here we'll have to pass it as a variable. So these things, I guess here. Yeah, so these build arguments is what I'm talking about. This we have git version, release channel, and git script version. Here, along with this, we'll also have to pass the platform. Now, right now, we are only passing platforms here, but I think we can remove it from separate uh, as a separate field. Although I don't know that this particular workflow how it uses this particular field, so I'll have to go and look at this build push action to see that what it expects. But one thing that I'm sure is that those fields have to be given as build arguments here, and then like these release channel, git version, git script version, you can find these variables inside of the Docker file. And just like those variables, you will be using the one extra variable like go arc, and here we would be populating that go arc as AMD 64 or ARM 64, depending upon for which we want to for which basically for which target we want to compile it for. So there would be some changes needed here. Are you familiar with the basically, how much familiar are you with the GitHub Actions and all? Like it has matrix features, and also for multiple versions you can uh,
Uh,
compile.
I don't have exposure on. I mean, I have done like university projects with the Git, but I don't think it's this complex. My experience was with proprietary software, so I'm completely new to
Oh,
open source.
oh, okay. So I guess so. What I'll do is that I'll hand over this issue to someone else, and I can ask you to review that back so that when this thing gets merged, you can actually pull it and use it on your machine, and then
Yeah,
you can.
thing is I have a strict timeline, and if I'm able to complete the project by using Meshery and benchmarking all this stuff, I can contribute towards the documentations in the layer 5 Meshery thing. So what I was thinking is, if you could give me the steps or something where I can build a local image and try on the system meanwhile someone is fixing this issue, that would be like expedite the process actually.
Okay, seems reasonable. So for that, you can just go over to this Docker file, and
Okay.
that would, yeah, it would be that is as easy as replacing this goarc variable to ARM64 here
Okay.
and here. That
Okay.
would, and you can just Docker build that with your own tag, and then basically, what do you use to run Meshery, by the way? Meshery CTL, or
Meshy
what is this?
CTL.
Okay, so the thing is that when you spin Meshery CTL, what that does is it pulls latest images. So it would pull this image. But if you would want to build it locally, so one thing that you can do is, okay, so you can, okay, so if I go over, if you, I can give you an example. I can give you an example inside one of the workflows that we have. Uh, so you can spin up mesh CTL. So inside of mesh config, you have components field. That components field has things like Meshery, Theo, Meshery Linkerd, uh, which basically allows you to tell Meshery that while you're installing, what other adapters you want to uh, install along with you.
Yeah,
So there, if you specify Meshery Theo, it will start its own Meshery Theo, which you would not want, because right now, as we know, ARM64 images are broken.
correct.
So yeah, to disallow that, just set that components field as empty. So first start Meshery CTL. So once your Meshery server and everything comes up with Meshery CTL, and now you're sure that okay, Meshery is running now,
Okay.
then what you can do is you can you I'll go over to the workflow so that I have so I think we have that inside of the core repository. Just give me a second. Yeah. So, okay. So here also we're doing almost exactly the same thing. So in the workflows, we have end-to-end workflows, which where what we do is we are trying to test the functionality of each adapter. So we build the adapter's image locally and use that local image to deploy it to the Kubernetes, and
Okay.
we deploy Meshery via Meshery CTL. So here, as you can see, you can refer to these steps. These steps are almost identical to what you would want to do. So for example, start Meshery server using Meshery CTL. After you have done that, starting adapter would mean that first you would there are, if you go into the install directory in Meshery, you would find the deployment.yaml and service.yaml. So these two things you need for deploying Meshery adapter. Any Meshery adapter, you need the service and deployment, as you know.
Okay.
So you can deploy the service as it is. You can just take Meshery istio service and deploy it manually as it is, and that would be fine. Inside of deployment.yaml, this bash script, basically what it does is it goes into the image field and replaces the layer 5 slash Meshery istio stable latest to what it built locally. So as I told you, you would go and build an local image for ARM64, and let's say that you tagged it with uh, uh, prima colon, and then you gave it a tag. What you have to do is just go inside of the YAML of that deployment. So if I have to go over quickly and give you where the YAML is, what I'm talking about, inside of install directory here, I think it's these are the Helm charts. I guess it would be deployment YAMLs, Gates. Okay, yeah. So here we have all the YAMLs. So if you need to install like Istio for now, you can go over to Meshery Istio service. This one you would use to deploy service, and this won't need any change. So you can just deploy this one as it is. The deployment.yaml here, this field you would need to replace with your locally built image, this image field. And once you do that, you can deploy this deployment and deploy the service. You'll have both things deployed, and you'll have Meshery server running with Meshery CTL. And yeah, then the setup would be complete. Then you can use it in Kubernetes. You can use Meshery in Kubernetes with Istio.
Okay, building the Docker file is like a standard building the Docker image, right? There is no new, I mean, different commands used. It's like a general building the Docker file, yeah?
Yeah. Docker build with you. Yeah, this is general file. Just replace that AMD with ARM and just build how any Docker file is built.
Okay, clear. Okay. Thanks. I'll try this and let you know if it works.
Okay, if you run into any issues, you can ping me on Slack or ping me on any channel and tag me there. I'll be happy to help you.
Yeah, sure.
Because this thing is you have a time crunch. That's why I also want you to be successful doing this.
Yes, because finding the ARM machines outside is difficult. Most of them, like, we don't have this access. I have a access to the ARM server, and also I can run proper test and do. I mean, I want to utilize the time. I mean, resources as much as possible. That's why.
Yeah. Sounds good. So okay. So you see, any other doubts you have, Prima?
No, I think this is it.
Okay, so anyone want to take this issue up? We have a bunch of people here who have spent basically good amount of time around CI and workflows. So this seems to be basically the open issue that I showed in adapter. Someone wants to take this up, you can raise your hand now. I can assign it to you on the call, and if you're too shy to do that, it's fine. You can ping me on Slack channel, or you can comment. So this is inside of Istio issues. You will find this particular issue that was created, and you can tag me there. I'll assign it to you, and we'll discuss this thing. So we'll try to fast track it. If someone else doesn't basically grab this up, I'll do it because yeah, I think this needs to be done, because this it's not like a feature, this is more like a bug, because we have a broken arm image. Okay, thank you, Prima.
I can help to test this because I have ARM64 info.
Yeah, Augustus, did you say something? You pretty.
Yeah, I can try to do it, but what exactly should look to for an image difference, or what's the key thing? I don't get it.
So like I had pointed out inside of basically the let me go over it again. Inside of the multi-platform, this particular multi-platform.yaml, this workflow is what I'm talking about. And here inside of build arguments, we give the other arguments the same way. We have to, these build arguments are build arguments to the Docker file. So the platform for which we want to basically that Docker file to build, the image should be platform specific. So with that, that should be as one of the build arguments here. And with the thing, the AMD 64 that is hard coded inside of the Docker file, that should be replaced with this variable that would be filled in at the build time.
So you mean Meshery image doesn't work on
Meshery istio, Meshery istio image or any adapter image.
Because Istio by default it doesn't work with ARM64 for now because some Ingress, I think it's not compatible yet.
But I still think, okay, that might be the case, but that issue is still orthogonal to one in the adapter, because it might be the case that you are running your adapter in an ARM machine, but you're trying to manage your cluster where Istio is running in an AMD64 machine. So these two things are like completely orthogonal. So we still want to have images for both the platforms, because adapter and like you can literally have your adapter running at one part of the continent and your service mesh running at completely different part of the continent. They're completely detachable components.
Okay.
Is there like a screenshot or something of the error that is happening on this specific configuration? Like I'm assuming
Actually,
it's
no.
in the issue, but maybe could
Yeah.
we share that in the notes? I think is it issue 384?
Yeah, it's issue. Actually, it's issue 451. And
451. Cool.
yeah, the containers go in a crash loop back off. So when you try to start a container, it goes into a crash loop back off. That's due to the fact that, and the rest of the things have been pointed out by Prima here in the issue, so you can take a look at that. So I'll assign this to you, Augustus, and if you find any problems, you can hit me up, right?
Okay.
Okay, your name isn't coming up. Just comment on this thing and I'll send that to you. Moving on. Let's move on to the next item, which is by Nishan. Nishan, would you like to share your screen?
Yeah, sure.
Go ahead.
Yeah, so like I've been working on migrating Meshery CTL to Homeview for Homeview core tab basically. So users would have to first add our tab and then install Meshery CTL. So yeah, like I've raised a pull request to Homebrew for adding our formula, and it's in review. So there is one thing that I was blocked with, that is so the version that we released, that is the 0.6.0 rc.6b, like in like most of the places this version is not considered as a stable release version, and Homebrew just a second. मेरे बोल दे दे Hello. Yeah, sorry. So yeah, I was saying that Homebrew doesn't consider this as a stable version. So like I added a comment clarifying that we make these kind of releases as a part of our stable release channel, and yeah, like we're waiting for the reply.
Yeah, so the issue is that Brew doesn't allow it to be formatted like this.
Yeah, so the problem is that they allow only stable versions. So they don't want basically unstable versions to go on their core tabs, and by the naming it looks like it's a release candidate
So
6.
how do they figure out, like, do they have a convention that it should have this particular tag?
So I think like standard major.minor.patch, like if it was just 0.6.0, it would have been considered as a stable version. But anyways, as I and both Lee also said, that this is a kind of thing that we should be determining, not Homebrew. So like if we think that it's a stable version, then we should be able to push it. So let's see, like we're waiting for the reply.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
And I'd also like to discuss that like I was also working on making edge releases possible for Meshery CTL. So currently users can only install our stable releases. So for edge releases, like Lee told in yesterday's developer meeting, that we have a Meshery system Meshery system context will release like stable or edge. Like users can configure their Meshery images release channel using Meshery CTL, and we would like to we would like to also change the version of Meshery CTL doing that. So that means Meshery CTL would be kind of changing its own version, but there was a problem with that, and again it was due to its compatibility with package managers like Scoop and Homebrew. Like Homebrew clearly specifies that you can't like the software that you are um, publishing with Homebrew, it shouldn't be auto updating, because then it will cause conflicts with Homebrew's own update mechanism. And yeah, so that is why I think that we'll probably not be using that command to change the version of Meshery CTL. We'll probably be doing something else for allowing users to have fetch releases.
Yeah, that sounds about right. And what about other package managers? So this is the case with all package managers or just Homebrew?
So it clearly is specified in Homebrew, and apart from Homebrew, I think we use Scoop for Windows, and I think it might be the case with them also, because, for example, if we install anything using Scoop, like it might store somewhere that this is the version that is currently installed, and if we like Meshery CTL itself upgrades itself into something else, then there would be a conflict between the version that.
Yeah. So the issue that you're pointing out sounds about right. So do you have any what alternative did you think of?
Yeah, I'll go to. So actually, I was working on this, so I haven't given it a lot of thought, but yeah, there is something. It was in this repository. Yeah, so what I was planning, so I gave it a thought only for Homebrew. So that Homebrew supports installing from head, and like currently we consider edge releases as the one that is in master. Uh, so what the users could probably do is like install Meshery CTL using this command, like adding a head flag, or if they want to update it, they can add this flag, and it would automatically download it built from the main master file, master version of our code. So yeah, this could be done. Like this will be automatically possible when our version goes in Homebrew tab.
Yeah.
So for other ways like our custom scripts or other package managers, like haven't given it a thought really. But is there anything that you would like to suggest? Or
No, as of now, I can't suggest anything better than the thing that you have commented on. So brew upgrade, just brew upgrade Meshery CTL will upgrade it to the latest stable version, and with fetch head it would upgrade with the edge version, right?
Yeah. So basically, I don't know why they have different flags for installation and upgrade. So basically, they do the same thing. They uh, they fetch from the head and then install.
Okay. If anyone else has a better idea, this would be the time to suggest or comment. Enough of awkward silence. Okay. So I guess if you don't come up with a better way than this one, then we should go with this. Let's see other folks commenting on the last comment that you left. And
Yeah. So
the way that
actually, so I just want to say that this is not something that we'll need to implement. This will automatically be implemented. And like along with that, I had a very idea. Like I had an idea which I haven't really thought very clearly if it would work. So that was that we still have our custom tab, like Meshery /home view tab. So we may use it for like providing edge releases. So I'm really not sure. Or maybe we have a separate repository or something. So basically, Go releaser runs every time on edge releases also, and it builds binaries, but we throw those binaries away. We don't publish them anywhere. So maybe we can have a place and update those binaries, and maybe so we can update our script also to like
So
a flag
you're saying
maybe.
that a different tab for stable and different tab for edge.
Yeah, kind of. Or like if we like this is very specific to home view. So what I was suggesting that like the we use the binaries created by Go releaser on every edge release and store them somewhere, maybe a release or maybe a repo or something, and then our script which users use to install Meshery CTF, the bash script, it may be able to fetch from that. So it's a very vague thought at this point, and I haven't really worked on the specific project.
I think in the issue or inside of the PR, you can bullet wise, jot down those thoughts, solidify them, so that if someone else has a similar thought, they can continue with your thought process and we can reach a consensus. So just I think you suggested two ways. As I recall, just put those two ways in a bulleted list inside of the comment itself.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I'll do that.
Okay. Nice. So we'll be moving on to the third item. Is Hamza here? Yes, he is here.
Yep.
Yeah, would you like to share your screen on this console end-to-end test? I think they're about done now.
Yep. I deployed the pattern file, but then I don't know. I think I'm asserting for the wrong. Can you all see my screen?
Yep.
Yeah. So I think I'm asserting for the wrong resources because at first it was working before I put the pattern file there for hashcaps. But when I put the pattern file for hashcaps, it fails with this.
Can you yeah, whenever this happens, just go back to the pattern apply step. Can you scroll over? Just keep scrolling at the top. Yeah, I think
this is
there
a very,
a lot of
it's a very long thing.
I'll just take this scroll bar up as you can.
Yeah, but also in the pattern file, I was using the one of Meshery Istio as a template. For it, it has resources as application. Mine has deployment.k8, service.k8. I don't know whether
the application is supported everywhere. Although, yeah, can you go to the pattern apply, install service mesh, that step?
Where?
This one, yeah. Yeah, so it says invalid workload. So basically there was an error applying the pattern. Which can you take me to the pattern file that you were trying to deploy? But in the logs it was a different one. It was something that was importing. It was a higher order pattern. Basically, it was importing different patterns within itself. If you go back to that log pattern apply. Yeah, I think you have way too many tabs open. System is giving up now. Yes, you have Zoom opened. You overestimated your system.
Yeah. Oh,
you can just go to the exit Here, just go to the pages changed in the PR itself and files changed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I guess you would have. So which pattern file is it? Yeah, this one, right? This deploy with sample app. This one failed. I had seen the a failing log for this one. Okay.
Yeah,
Uh,
it failed because for Istio, this link here,
okay,
the
okay,
one
okay,
for
okay. So
installing Istio, it lives in
no, no,
SMP, but mine lives in that same
no, no,
directory.
no, no,
So
no,
I
no, no,
thought
no.
I
Wait, wait,
huh?
wait, 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 wait. Wait. This. Do you see on line number 4? You have commented out the value, so it never got imported. The type is empty there. There's a typo there, basically, that this YAML has a type as empty, because when you unmarshal this YAML, nothing would come out. If you see, just on the left of $sign, you have a hash that comments out the
Oh,
rest of the, yeah. So if you just uncomment this thing, the pattern file we would be able to deploy the pattern file. Now coming back to the pattern file itself, which pattern file are you trying to deploy here? Yeah, here you have, yeah, you just, yeah, now it's a valid YAML. No, it was a valid YAML, but now you have fields there. Now, but I think in this thing, you're trying to deploy the, so you're giving control plane namespace as console, but this YAML is of Istio, right?
I based it off the Istio YAML. But yeah,
Can you go over to this?
control plane.
Can you go to the imported this line number 4, this YAML? Can you hyperlink, just open the hyperlink? Yeah, so just wait a second. Console mesh namespace settings version. Just remove the profile, because yeah, there is no profile in uh, console mesh. There is just type and just version. So if you just remove the profile, I think the rest of it is fine. Just remove profile from here as well as from vars field, because
But in
the
vars,
definition,
I also don't see a use for this one for namespace.
we actually so use, yeah, remove that as well. Actually, we were using that in the automatic sidecar injection, so you can remove this thing as well, because I explicitly asked you to not have the automatic sidecar injection trait, because we have deprecated traits from the console mesh adapter for now. So you can remove the namespace field as well as the profile default field as well as the profile where we are actually calling that profile. Just remove these things, and this would be a valid YAML to basically install a console mesh. Coming back, what was the second YAML? That second YAML was again the sample app, book info sample app, right?
Mm, It was HashiCorp this time.
Can you open it?
Okay.
Yeah, so okay, this sounds fine to me. Can you go back? But I saw some exported variables there. So can you go back to the original YAML in the VS Code? Yeah, can you scroll down?
This one.
So settings, namespace is default. Uh, and depends on, okay. So this depends on field is completely fine. Actually, uh, this is very good. And you can remove, I guess, where are you using this namespace? I don't think you're using this namespace field inside of on line. See, the thing is that on line number 13, basically inside of the settings, you, for example, if I give the example of the above service, the console installation service, on line number 4, you're setting that on line number 4, you basically tell that you have to import this pattern. On line number 5, once you tell that I want to import a pattern, all the fields on 6, 7, 8, and 9, these fields would be used to populate. If you go over to the original YAML, in the vars field, all the fields that you have will be populated by these fields. So in the same way, on line number 11, if you import a pattern, inside of that pattern, it would go to vars.namespace and populate that with default. But the thing is that inside of the original YAML at line 11, you don't have a vars field anyways. So you can remove the settings. Line 12 and 13 can be removed basically. Because yeah, I don't think there is a vars. Yeah, there is no vars. So since this does not have external variables to it, there is no use of passing anything with the settings. So you can line number 12 and 13 can be removed. Yeah. Now rest assured, I think this is a valid thing. This would deploy your console control pane and then deploy your sample app. And then when the tests pass, hopefully I'll merge.
Yeah, I was so stuck. I looked for the one of emoji vote, and that's when I realized no one has done it yet.
Yeah, it's fine.
I don't know. Aren't there any people on the call who are willing to team up with me on the one of when we merge this one? I'll go to the one of Linkerd, but of late time has been on at a premium, so I don't know if there is anyone on the call who is willing to team up with me on the one of Linkerd, the sample app. You can ping me on Slack anytime you are ready, but yeah, just letting you know I could use some help for Linkerd, and if you're ready, you can ping me anytime.
Okay. So once
Yeah,
we
sure.
get this console one merged, then we can move on to Linkerd.
Okay. That's all from me. I think. Thanks a lot. You can move on to the next.
Okay. Thank you, Hamza. I guess this unstucks you and we'll hopefully be able to merge your PR. Going to the next item, Aditya is on the call. Yes, Aditya is.
Yeah,
So can you screen share and we can discuss about your item?
yeah, I'll share screen. Okay, so I have been working on I've been working on a workflow which basically copies the components that are present here into the Meshery report. So while working through it, I first did it with I did all the experiments in my personal repo, in which I am able to like replicate that thing. Like I can able to copy things from this repo to other repo, but like I'm able to like get the things from this repo, like this thing, and then put it into one of the MD files. But where I am facing problem right now is that uh, I can do it on the same repo itself. Like I cannot move it to another repo. Like suppose I created the folders like files here with this job, but how do I like copy this repo to another repo? Like copy these files to another repo?
Yeah. So in adapter, we do the exact same thing, right? So in adapter, what we do is we commit from the adapter repo to the Meshery repo. So all we do is that we provide the token, which we have stored in the secrets. And when we are in the GitHub checkout, in the action, if you store over in the checkout, if you go above, yeah, here on the, I guess on line 24, when you check out, you can also specify which basically which particular repo you want to check out in and provide particular tokens. So you can, while you're doing all these steps, you can check out to Meshery and perform whatever you're doing. And if you're saying that, okay, but the thing is that some of the files are here and the other files are there, so there have to be an intermediary step. So first you take those files and convert them into markdown. Once you have those markdown, you use the upload artifacts thing to upload them as uh, markdown files inside of art. So you can upload artifact, and the next job, basically that upload artifact job can be upload artifact and download artifact job can be used as a intermediary step to communicate files between two different jobs. So in one job you can say, okay, I checked out to this Meshery repo or whichever repo from which you want to copy all these things, and then You convert those into markdown files, and just like in the interview test, we do the same exact thing. We convert them into markdown files, and then we push those markdown files using the upload artifacts. Then we check out in the Meshery repo, download them as the artifacts, and then so you can take that as a reference, and the rest is, and then in the next job, just check out in the Meshery repo.
So in the E2E test, I guess we download the JSON file, right? And then we prettify it as an MD file. So these artifacts, like, can we download and upload as an MD file also?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll try that. Another like approach I was trying right now is that I was making these files in this repo and committing them, and then pushing the file using another action, like pushing these files to the another repo. So would that be a better option?
Can you come again the last line that you said?
Like I'm committing whatever files I made in this in repo, right? The adapter repo, for example, and then
I don't think you should commit them here because they have no use here, right? Instead of committing those individual files,
and later I
what you
delete
can
them.
But what's the need of actually committing?
Because all the push to another repo action required that there should be some file present in that repo only.
Okay, then so inside of the E2E test, we actually create the markdown. Okay, inside of, okay, I get it. But the thing is that the commit logs would be completely, spoiled. There would be a lot of redundant logs.
That could be a problem.
So the only bad thing I see with this approach is that since there would be a commit which says that we created this directory, and there would be a commit which says we. Do you have an open PR for this?
No. This is all I've done it in my private repo only.
Okay, so in a ClickUp task or in a GitHub issue, is there a GitHub issue open?
I don't think so. Like for these workflow creators.
I guess first you can open a GitHub issue, and what your approach is, you can list out the caveats there, like in one of these points that the commit history would be spoiled. And okay, Hamza, do you have anything to say?
Ditya, is this in relation to what you were saying about my PR, the comment you put of whether we clobber the file, we truncate the file every time the tests run, and this is something. Okay, we shall sync up on Slack, and you will tell me what it's about. No problem. You can continue. Sorry for interrupting, Ashik.
That's fine.
Okay.
So Aditya, I guess whatever your approach is, you can list that out in a GitHub issue. Try to phrase it. If it sounds good to, if that issue, the description of the issue gets a green light, then you can create a PR with this approach only.
Okay. Sure. I should create an issue with in the Meshery, like adapters repository, right?
Yep.
All right.
And will this need any change in the Meshery repository?
No, only the creation of one like certain folder to hold all this data. Like we will be creating a folder, right, to hold all these. Like we have created a folder for compatibility that stores all the. So similarly, we need a folder. That's it.
Okay, so let's move on to the next item. Yep. So next is Augustus. So Augustus, you wanted to discuss something, I guess. Will you share your screen and we can discuss that?
I think, yeah, much to share. But because as he's spoken, I try to run Meshery and add pattern file, but it was issue with adding pattern file. So I didn't progress that.
Can you screen share?
But I am not ready now to show it, but I agree that there's a issue.
Okay, let me share my screen, and there are some links that you pointed out to.
Yeah, exactly.
So go on.
Yeah, and in those pull requests, I tried to add file changes this pattern file, but it's like a simple pattern file, right? Or it's okay. I have to use this book info pattern, right?
Yeah, so here the path you have to give is the actual path. So for example, this GitHub inside of install directory, you have this deploy with sample app, right? In the same way, this path has to be, like this suggests that there is a book info pattern in the root directory, which there is not. So that's why it
You
will throw an
see,
error.
you see after part I write run get and I get this book info and this is how I use it.
Okay, so so basically you download that, and when you catted it, did you see that basically come up?
Yeah,
Basically the
exactly.
output. Okay. But again, but why are you trying to so I think we already have this deploy with sample app.yaml, right? So what is this? And this is the exact same pattern that we have here. I guess the issue was more about adding more resource assertions. So why are you changing changing the way we do that? So instead of like downloading the file and doing this, we already have this stored here. So I don't think we would need to change this file. We can just leave it as it is, and in the inside of the test assertions, we can change the test assertions. So if I go to the workflows,
Also this deploy simple app YAML, it's all kinds of that. Like this
what did
file
you
could
say?
stay. I mean this deploy simple app.yaml, it's proper file to use, you want to say.
Yeah, it's a proper file to use, yeah, but that file is already being used, and a copy of this file can be found in the install directory. So we are already using that file only. But the ask was that I think we should rename the issue or something, add end-to-end. Yeah, I think because this has been added, so we can change the name of this or create a new one, which was about adding test assertion. So when you deploy that pattern file, actually, like if you deploy the sample app pattern file, a virtual service and a gateway also comes up. So in the expected resource, you can add something like the name of that gateway and virtual service. So like reviews and ratings, and the inside of expected resource types, that would be virtual service and comma gateway, and then expected resource namespace would be comma default. So there is a one-to-one mapping between comma separated values. So you can just you can try to basically run Meshery server on your machine. If you're running adapter on your machine, try to deploy that pattern file, and the resources that come up, you can map those resources here. And
Yeah, this is what I try to do, like to deploy my machine and to see what resources are deployed, what pod names are deployed.
Yeah.
But it was an issue to do that. I'm not sure how to proceed with that.
So did you get any, basically when you did pattern apply, you got an error, right? That's what you're saying?
Yeah, exactly. I stuck
So
on that step.
Yeah, so let's get you unstuck. So whatever your issue is, what's that issue?
Yeah, because I couldn't add the pattern file. That's the thing.
So you can have any pattern file locally, and let's say that name of that pattern file is augustus.yaml. You can just say meshtctl pattern apply -f / and path to that augustus.yaml, and then it also requires a token, and you can generate that token with when you log into Meshery as a remote provider, you can actually generate that token, and on the right side you'll see get token option. Basically on the profile, you would see, if you click on that, you would see a get token option. You can download that token, and wherever you store that token, just give path of that token inside of the T flag. So for example, when you download that token as auth.json and store it inside of your home directory, you can say -t and then home/auth.json. So you have to give a token along with meshtctl pattern apply -f path to that pattern file, and that should work. And if
So issue was that I didn't attach the token to that command because I tried Meshery pattern apply -f, but it showed only GitHub URLs are supported. So
Yeah, actually,
when I add token, it will be all fine.
the error that you got that only GitHub URLs is supported, that is because you might not have said dot. Basically, you might, instead of giving the entire path, you just would have given the file name, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, actually, the logic, I think the way logic currently works, you have to give the path. So either give the entire path of the file or just say dot slash and then the name of the file. So basically, yeah, that would work also. And actually, when you will do that, that will give you the other error which I'm talking about, authentication required. And then you would go to the token step and generate that token and use that token to deploy that pattern, and then you would see things come up.
Okay, now it's much clearer. I don't know why no one mentioned to try with dot slash and full path. Right now it's clear. Yeah. Okay. Yeah,
That
much clearer
actually
now.
speaks to the poor documentation, that it should have been somewhere for you to know, because yeah, that's a very minor thing and we didn't catch it. Anyways, I hope I got you unstuck as well. If you get run into any issue again, uh, you can basically ping me on the Meshy CTL channel, and we should get that pattern deployed on your machine as soon as possible.
Okay, sound good for now. For me, it's clear what it.
Okay. So I guess that brings us to the last item. We have 8 minutes left, so I'll briefly discuss it. And I think this would be of interest to Hamza and maybe Augustus once he gets around this issue, because this is another E2E test. So like we have in all the adapters, let me. So like you have this particular workflow. We need this particular workflow is there replicated across all of the adapters with slight changes. For example, if I'll go over here, you'll see the expected resource Istio and Istio things related to Istio, and inside of a Linkerd adapter, you would see things related to Linkerd. And we are testing Meshy's capability to deploy Istio stuff, to deploy Linkerd stuff, to deploy all these other things. One thing that remains is that we're still not testing Meshy's capabilities to deploy just Kubernetes stuff. Like Hamza, you said that you have deployment.k8s, and in your pattern file you have deployment.k8s, pod.k8s. So anything that is suffixed with .k8s, that is a Kubernetes component, and currently Meshery server internally handles those Kubernetes components. So if it ends with .istio, it means that Istio adapter handles those components. If it ends with .k8s, we don't have a Kubernetes adapter right now because we don't need one. So it's just small little functionality that has been packaged into Meshery itself. So the logic that handles Kubernetes components also resides in Meshery. So we need to test. We need to have tests for simple .k8s file as well, like .k8s components as well, that are we able to successfully deploy deployment and a pod and a service and a config map and a secret. So if you can just find a big YAML that has all these things, convert that into a pattern file, and then you will have this new pattern file with .k8s everywhere. And a similar, almost a copy of this would go into Meshery. So inside of the core Meshery will also call this workflow, but the only difference there would be that it won't run any adapter. There won't be any adapter running. So basically here you can pass, yeah, that would be a question. So here we give it a deployment URL and a service URL. So the thing is that we might give it something here, because that's the way we have designed the system, that we expect after Meshy CTL server to come up, we expect some other adapter to also come up, and we manually stand it using this deployment URL and service URL. But when we will be testing these Meshery capabilities, we don't need any other adapter. So yeah, we can either leave them as empty, or make them make a changes in the core workflow. Is Rutraj here? Okay, so Rutraj isn't here. He would have had grabbed it or had some insights over it. So basically, we can make this deployment URL and service URL fields optional. So if these fields are not present, we will not try to deploy an adapter, because when we will have these tests in the Meshery core repo, we won't need an adapter. We would be just deploying the K8s components only. And for that, we only need Meshery. And Hamza, as I pointed out, the application component that you saw. So any component that is not suffixed with any .k8s or .istio is just Meshery's core component. So only Meshery and Meshery has that logic. And so we want to test that as well, right? So whether we are able to successfully deploy application or not. So that would all of those things would be covered inside of one workflow that will go inside of Meshery. And after, I think, Hamza, you're done with this console thing, and after Augustus, you're done with this and this thing that you're stuck on. You both can collaborate, or either of you can take up this one, which would be to use this same exact workflow to. And before that, I think we would need to make these fields optional, or do something about it. I think we can discuss this in the next call. Before that, I think we would be having Linkerd stuff from Hamza being deployed, and Augustus would be working on some other stuff. And there's a recent issue signed to him, so there would be some other stuff. So this can be. I think I will push this into the agenda of next meeting minutes. I'll call Rituraj, and then we can have a much more meaningful discussion over it and come to a consensus as to how we want to proceed over a test use case where we don't want to stand an adapter and just want to test Meshery's core capabilities. So whatever I said, did it make sense to you, Hamza and Augustus?
Yeah, I get the gist of it, but I just haven't, like, I can't think of an implementation right now. Like,
Yeah, sure.
yeah, but
Uh,
when you start with the first step, the second step will show up, but it has been, yeah, I need to
Cool.
give it some more time.
Okay, so we are almost there. There are 3 minutes left, and there is no other issue to talk about. I guess we had a late newcomer to the call. If that newcomer is still here, I think they dropped off. They just came and dropped off. Yep. So they didn't even introduce themselves. How rude. Anyways, maybe they will have introduced themselves in the chat. I haven't seen it. Anyways, so that brings us to the end of the call. So thanks everyone for being here. So see you in the next call, which will be taking place next week. So bye everyone. Good night,
Bye.
good morning, good evening,
All the best. Bye.
whichever time zone you are.
Bye bye.
Thanks all. Bye.